Chosen one, stop scrolling. Not because I'm asking you to, because something in you already did. You felt it before you clicked. That quiet pull, that whisper underneath the noise that said, wait, this one. And here's what I need you to understand before we go 1 second further. There are videos the algorithm sends you, and then there are moments heaven arranges. This is not the first kind. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here because you have been carrying something you cannot name. Something heavy, something old, something you've gotten so used to holding that you stopped telling people it was still there. You've been functioning, but you haven't been at peace. Not really, not in a long time. You wake up, you show up, you hold it together for everyone around you. You've been the strong one so long you've forgotten what it felt like to let somebody else carry something for you. And somewhere in the quiet, in the car, in the kitchen at 6 inches the morning, in that half-awake hour before the world starts demanding things again, a question surfaces. One, you don't say out loud, does God still have something ahead for me? Or did I already miss it? That question is not weakness. That question is the sound of a soul that has endured much and is still reaching for something real. You are not here because an algorithm found you. You are here because heaven knew exactly where to reach you. You almost didn't click. Something stopped you, then something moved you forward anyway. That wasn't curiosity. That was a knock at the door of a house that had gone silent. That was a lamp turning on in a hallway you thought was empty. That was your name being called. But if you were meant to find this now, the real question isn't why you clicked. The real question is, what season have you just entered without fully realizing it? Some of you think you're just tired. But what if you were being summoned? If this found you at the right moment, type right now, I was led here. Stay with me all the way through. This message doesn't begin with explanation. It ends in revelation. And the first sign that this moment is real is the weight you've been feeling. Let me speak to something you have not said out loud to anyone. Not to your children, not to your closest friend, not even fully to yourself. There has been a heaviness sitting in your chest. Not a sharp pain, not a crisis you can point to. Just a weight, constant, quiet, like something pressing down from the inside that never fully lifts. No matter how much sleep you get, no matter how many mornings you tell yourself today will be different. You have had nights where you woke at 3 inches the morning and stared at the ceiling and could not explain why your heart was racing. Nothing was wrong. Everything was fine. And yet something inside you felt like it was bracing for impact. You have felt waves of grief come out of nowhere. Standing in the kitchen, sitting in church, driving down the highway with the radio off. And you had no explanation for it, so you pushed it down, because that is what you do. That is what you have always done. You have been the one who holds it together. You have been the one people call when things fall apart. You have been the steady voice, the calm presence, the shoulder, and you have done it faithfully, beautifully, for decades. But here is what nobody asked you. Who holds it together for you? You have been tired, chosen one. Not lazy tired, not vacation tired. Tired in a way that sleep does not fix. Tired in a way that goes bone deep. The kind of tired that comes from carrying invisible weight for so long that you stop noticing it was even there. Your heart has been holding a responsibility your mouth could not explain. And you called it stress. You called it age. You called it just how life is at this point. But I need you to hear this clearly. You were not falling apart. You were carrying something. There is a difference. And that difference changes everything. In Genesis 1, before anything was created, the scripture says the Spirit of God hovered over the deep. The Hebrew word there is marashephet. It means to brood, to press, to hold with intensity before release. God himself pressed over darkness before light was spoken into existence. Pressure is not punishment. Pressure is the posture of creation before breakthrough. Think about what happens in the natural world before something new comes forth. A storm builds pressure before rain falls. A seed is compressed in dark soil before it pushes through. And a mother, she knows labor. She knows the weight that comes before delivery. The hardest hour is not the middle of the journey. The hardest hour is right before arrival. Job 23:10 says this, "He knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold." Not might come forth, shall. That is a divine guarantee written inside the pressure. So let me ask you something that might shake you a little. What if the grief that came out of nowhere was not evidence that you were breaking down, but evidence that something old inside you was finally being released? What if the restless nights were not anxiety, but your spirit being stirred awake because heaven was preparing to move in your life? What if the emotional waves, the sudden ache for closure, the fatigue from battles nobody else could see, what if all of it was not a sign that you were losing ground? What if it was a sign that a mantle was being placed on your shoulders? A mantle is not light. Ask Elijah. When the prophet threw his mantle on Elisha in 1 Kings 19, Elisha did not laugh. He did not dance. He slaughtered his oxen. He burned his plow. He understood something heavy just landed on my life, and I will never be the same. That is what has been happening to you. Heaven has been placing iron into your spine, not to break you, to build you, to make you strong enough to carry what is coming. Because what is coming for you requires strength you did not have 5 years ago. It requires a depth of character that only comes through sustained pressure. It requires a quiet authority that cannot be manufactured, only forged. You were not just hurt. You were not just tired. You were being prepared. And here is the word I need to land in your spirit right now. The word that changes the frame of everything you have been living through. The weight was not there to crush you. It was there to prove you could carry what is coming. Read that again. Let it settle into your bones. You survived the pressure. You are still here, still believing, still reaching, still showing up. That is not ordinary. That is rare. And heaven noticed every single day you chose to keep going when everything in you wanted to stop. If you have felt a heaviness you could not explain, type right now, "I felt the weight," because you were not imagining it. It was real, it was purposeful, and it was temporary. And once heaven saw you could carry it, the response was no longer delayed. Let me ask you something nobody has asked you in a long time. How many years did you wait for something that never came the way you expected? 5 years? 10? Maybe you stopped counting. And somewhere in that waiting, somewhere between the prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and the silence that felt like an answer in itself, a thought crept in, quiet, persistent, devastating. Maybe God moved on without me. I need you to hear what I'm about to say with everything in you. That thought was a lie. And it nearly cost you everything. Because here is what nobody tells you about delay. Delay is not distance. Delay is not punishment. Delay is not heaven looking away. Delay is God doing underground what he cannot do in public. Think about what you know about foundations. You ever watch a building go up in New York City? For months, sometimes a full year, you drive past that construction site and nothing appears to be happening above ground. Just noise, just dust, just barriers keeping everyone back. But underneath they are going 60 feet down into bedrock. Because the taller the building, the deeper the foundation must go before one single floor can rise. That was your waiting season. God was not ignoring you, he was going deep. And some of you needed to go deep, not because you were weak, but because what he was preparing to place on your life was too heavy for who you were 10 years ago. Some blessings would have crushed an earlier version of you. Some doors needed maturity, not excitement. Some assignments required spiritual backbone that could only be built through years of carrying weight nobody else could see. Look at Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold, enslaved, falsely accused, imprisoned, And in every single one of those seasons, the pit, the prison, the silence, God was not absent. God was building the man the palace would require. If Joseph had walked into Pharaoh's court at 17, full of dreams and no scars, he would have crumbled under the weight of that assignment. The suffering was not the detour. The suffering was the curriculum. Look at Moses. 40 years in the wilderness, 40 years of silence after a life of Egyptian power. The world forgot him. Maybe he wondered if God had too. But God was stripping away everything Moses thought made him qualified so he could build what actually would. Look at David, anointed as king while still a teenager, then sent back to tend sheep. Years passed. Battles came. Betrayal came. The throne he was promised felt like a lie told to a boy who should have known better. But God was not slow. God was surgical. He was building the version of David that would not abuse what cost him so much to carry. And then there is Anna, a widow, 84 years old, faithfully serving in the temple decade after decade with no headline, no spotlight, no public recognition, just faithfulness in the hidden place. And then, one ordinary morning in the temple, she lays eyes on the infant Jesus. She was the first prophet to publicly proclaim the redemption of Jerusalem. 84 years old. Her recognition did not come early. It came exactly on time. And chosen one, so will yours. You thought your age disqualified you. You thought the years you spent waiting were years subtracted from your purpose. But God does not subtract. He compounds. Every year you held on when letting go would have been easier. He was adding interest. Every morning you showed up faithful when the promise still hadn't arrived. He was adding weight to your testimony that no young faith could carry. You thought the silence meant heaven had moved on. The silence was formation. You thought the waiting meant you were forgotten. The waiting was preparation. You thought the best chapter of your life had already been written. But what if the chapter you are entering now is the one everything else was building toward? Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "He makes everything beautiful in its time." Not early, not late, in its time. And this, right now, this is your time. He was building the version of you that would not waste what earlier pain prayed for. The version that would not crumble under favor. The version that could carry the weight of answered prayer without losing the character that made you qualified to receive it. That version is you. Right now, today, if you know deep in your bones that God kept you through seasons you could not explain, through nights that had no morning in sight, through years that felt like silence but somehow you are still here, type right now, "He kept me," because He did. And He did it on purpose. But here is what I need you to understand about everything He was building in you. It was not only endurance He was developing. It was recognition, the ability to see what is real, to know when a moment is sacred, to understand finally why you are standing exactly where you are standing. And what He wants you to recognize next is the most important thing you have not yet seen about yourself. Let me ask you something nobody around you has thought to ask. When did familiar start feeling foreign? Not dramatic, not sudden, just off. Like wearing a coat you've owned for 20 years, and one morning you put it on, and something about it just doesn't sit right anymore. The coat hasn't changed. You have. And nobody warned you this would happen. Nobody told you that one of the clearest signs of spiritual transformation isn't a vision, isn't a miracle, isn't a voice from heaven. Sometimes the first sign is simply this: the life that used to fit you doesn't anymore. The conversations that used to energize you now leave you hollow. You sit at the same table, with the same people, and you love them. God knows you love them, but something in you is somewhere else entirely, and you can't explain it without sounding ungrateful. So you say nothing. The noise that used to distract you doesn't work anymore. You turn on the television, you scroll through the phone, you fill the room with sound, and underneath all of it, that quiet, persistent ache is still there, waiting, like it knows something you don't yet. You've started craving peace the way a thirsty man craves water. Not entertainment, not busy, not even company sometimes, just stillness, just space to breathe without performing for anyone. And the strangest part? You don't know who you're becoming. You only know, with a certainty you can't quite argue with, that you are no longer who you were. That is not confusion, dear one. That is evidence. Jesus said it plainly in Mark 2:22. No one pours new wine into old wineskins. The wine will burst the skins. He wasn't just talking about religion, he was talking about you, about this exact moment, about what happens when something new is being poured into a life that hasn't yet made room for it. The discomfort you've been feeling, that tightness, that sense that something is pressing from the inside out, that is new wine. And it is looking for room. You are not falling apart. You are not losing your mind. You are not becoming cold or distant or difficult. You are a bird pressing against a shell it has outgrown. And the shell, breaking that, feels like chaos from the inside. But from heaven's view, it looks exactly like birth. Here's what I need you to sit with for a moment. You've been grieving a version of yourself you can't go back to. Maybe you didn't even realize that's what the heaviness was. But you've been mourning the old identity, the role, the routine, the way you used to know yourself, and nobody around you has named it. So you carried it unnamed, like a weight with no label. But the grief isn't the problem. The grief is the proof. You do not mourn what still fits. You only mourn what you've genuinely outgrown. And here is the question that should stop you cold. What if everything that's felt wrong lately has actually been God making room? Not punishing you, not ignoring you, not withholding from you, making room, clearing the interior of a life that is being prepared for something it has not yet seen. The old desires fading, that's not depression, that's pruning. The old reactions no longer satisfying, that's not numbness, that's maturity. The old environments feeling suddenly too small, that's not ingratitude. That is a soul that has grown larger than the season it's been living in. Ephesians 4:22-3 calls it, putting off the old self and being renewed in the spirit of your mind. Not a one-time altar call moment, a process, a daily, sometimes disorienting, deeply sacred process of becoming. And it doesn't always feel holy while it's happening. Sometimes it feels like loss. Sometimes it feels like loneliness. Sometimes it feels like standing in a room where the furniture hasn't moved, but nothing looks the same. Morning light does that. It exposes what darkness made comfortable. And when God turns the light up in a life, things you tolerated in the dark become impossible to ignore in the light. So let me say this directly, chosen one. With everything in me, the discomfort was not proof that you were in the wrong place with God. It was proof you were becoming too large for a season that once contained you. You have not been going backward. You have been outgrowing. And outgrowing is always uncomfortable, always isolating, always misread by the people still living in the season you just left. But heaven has been watching every single moment of it. If you know the old version of you no longer fits type right now, I've outgrown it. Own it. Because what you just named is not a crisis. It is the beginning of your next chapter. And once you realize you are changing, once you accept that this transformation is real and it is God-initiated, the next question becomes unavoidable. Why has the warfare intensified at the exact same moment the breakthrough is closest? Let me ask you something nobody else has asked you lately. When did it start getting harder? Not harder like life is hard, harder like something was specifically targeting your peace, your sleep, your confidence, your will to keep going. Because somewhere in the last season, maybe the last few months, something shifted. And not in a good way. The fog got thicker. The discouragement got heavier. Old wounds you thought were closed started bleeding again. Relationships that were stable suddenly felt strained. And that voice in your head, the one that says you're too tired, too old, too far behind, got louder than it's ever been. You almost stopped caring. You almost settled. You almost went back. I need you to hear this clearly. That was not random. That was targeted. Here is what the enemy never wants you to understand. He does not attack people who are going nowhere. He attacks people who are standing at the edge of somewhere significant. Job 1. Satan didn't go after the broken and the forgotten. He went after the man God called blameless. He went after the one heaven was watching. Think about that. The warfare got worse because your future stopped being theoretical. Something in the spirit shifted. Old cycles that had held you in the same place for years started losing their grip, and the darkness that had grown comfortable in your life, the familiar heaviness, the quiet resignation, the low ceiling you'd learned to live under it, felt the ground moving, and it panicked. Picture a thief in a house at night, moving slow and confident until the lights start coming on. That thief doesn't get calmer, he gets desperate. He starts throwing things, making noise, trying to create enough chaos to make you think the house is falling apart, when really the house is finally waking up. That's what's been happening to you. The static got louder because the signal was about to break through. The shaking got more violent because the locked door was about to open, and something on the other side knew it. Ephesians 6:12 says it plainly. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, not against bad luck, not against your age, not against your past, against principalities, against darkness that operates with strategy and intention, which means the attack on your mind had a strategy. The mental fog wasn't just stress. The sudden offense, that thing that almost made you walk away from someone important that wasn't just emotion. The urge to isolate, to go quiet, to pull back right when you were on the edge of breakthrough, that was a calculated move. Because here is what the enemy knows that you've forgotten. You are more dangerous now than you have ever been. Not despite what you've been through. Because of it, the suffering refined something in you. The waiting built something in you. The years of holding on when every logical reason said let go, that produced a depth of faith that younger, untested souls simply do not carry yet. And that depth terrifies darkness. So the attack came at your sleep, at your peace, at your confidence, at the quiet hours of the morning when you're most vulnerable. It came through people you trusted, through memories you thought were buried, through the cruel whisper that says it's too late. You missed your window. God has moved on without you. That is the enemy, throwing dust in the air because he cannot stop the sunrise. He cannot stop what's coming. But he can try to make you so exhausted, so disoriented, so worn down by the time it arrives that you don't recognize it when it does. Don't let him do that to you. Chosen one, I need you to reframe everything you've been calling weakness. That exhaustion you've been carrying, that is the weight of a person who has been under sustained spiritual attack because they are worth attacking. That confusion you can't shake, that is interference, the kind that increases when a transmission is about to come through. You are not falling apart. You are being targeted because something is about to transfer into your hands. And the closer it gets, the louder the opposition becomes. If you have felt that resistance right when you were trying to heal, right when you were trying to move forward, right when you dared to hope again, type this right now. The battle got louder. Because you need to say it out loud. You need to name what has been happening. The naming breaks the power of confusion over it. The pressure was not random. It was connected to a transfer. Something heaven has been preparing, something with your name already written on it, is closer than the warfare made you believe. Stay with this message, because the next part reveals what heaven is actually trying to place into your hands. And once you see it, everything you've survived will finally make sense. Let me ask you something nobody has asked you in a long time. What if the waiting wasn't wasted, not slowed down, not delayed by accident, not a sign that God forgot your address? What if every single season you endured, every year that felt like silence, every door that closed in your face, every prayer that seemed to dissolve into the ceiling. What if all of it was construction? Not destruction, construction. Because here is what heaven never announced, and what religion rarely explains. Before God adds a second story to a house, the builders reinforce the beams inside the first floor. You never see that work from the outside. The house looks exactly the same. Nothing appears to be changing. But underneath, in the hidden places, the structure is being made capable of carrying more weight. That is what was happening to you. You were not being punished in private. You were being expanded in private. Proverbs 4:7 says it plainly. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, not comfort first, not success first, wisdom first. Because wisdom is what keeps a person standing when the blessing arrives and the pressure doubles with it. And God was building wisdom into you the only way wisdom gets built: through fire, through waiting, through carrying things alone, through watching others move ahead while you stayed in place and somehow chose not to become bitter. That choice cost you something. Don't minimize it. That choice formed something. Think about iron. Raw iron is brittle, unstable. You can snap it. But when you work iron in a furnace, when you apply intense heat and pressure over time, it transforms into something that can bear enormous weight without breaking. That is not punishment applied to metal. That is purpose being burned into it. That is what God was doing in you. He was not building you a bigger life. He was building you into someone who could carry a bigger life without it destroying you. Because here is the truth most people never say out loud. Some people get the door they prayed for, and it ruins them. The sudden money, the sudden influence, the sudden platform. And within 2 years, they are broken in ways they weren't before the blessing came, because they were handed a second story before the beams were reinforced. But you were shaped in hiddenness. You developed emotional steadiness not because life was easy, but because you had no choice but to hold yourself together when everything around you was shaking. You developed discernment, the ability to hear what is real underneath what is loud, because you spent years learning the difference between noise and truth. You developed restraint because pain taught you that not every reaction needs to be spoken, and not every wound needs an audience. You developed compassion shaped by suffering. You know what it feels like to sit in a waiting room nobody else can see, which means when you carry what is next, you will carry it with gentleness. You will not be arrogant with your blessing. You have been on the other side too long to forget what the other side feels like. And you developed authority that does not need performance. Chosen one. That last one is rare. Most people in positions of influence perform their way through the room. They need the applause. They need the validation. They need you to see them, to feel real. But you have been unseen for so long that you no longer need the room to confirm you. And that is exactly the kind of person heaven trusts with something real. Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever is faithful in very little is also faithful in much." Very little. Hidden faithfulness, quiet endurance, private integrity. That is the resume heaven reads. And yours is full. Now let me ask you a question that should stop you cold. If you were being formed, if this whole season was God widening the vessel before increasing the oil, what exactly is the more that is now approaching? Because it is approaching, not someday, not when you finally feel ready, not after one more year of wondering if you missed your window. Now, the wineskin has been stretched, the beams have been reinforced, the iron has been through the furnace long enough. And heaven does not build capacity in a person for no reason. It builds capacity because something is coming that requires it. If you believe God was building something real inside you, type right now, "Make me ready." Let those words leave your fingers like a declaration, because that is exactly what they are. You were not overlooked. You were not forgotten. You were not falling behind. You were being made ready. And that is why what is coming is not just a blessing. It is a response. a response to every year you held on, every tear you swallowed, every morning you got up when you had every reason to stay down. Heaven kept a record, and now the record is being answered. Let me ask you something nobody else has asked you lately. What if the waiting is over? Not someday, not when things calm down, not when you finally feel ready enough or healed enough or strong enough. What if it's over right now? Because here is what I know about heaven. Heaven does not ignore faithfulness, it answers it. Maybe not on your schedule, maybe not in the form you expected, but the God who sees every tear you swallowed in silence, every prayer you whispered at midnight when the house was still, every morning you got up and chose to keep going, when every reason to stop was louder than the reason to move, that God does not keep a record of your endurance just to file it away. He keeps it because he intends to respond to it. Hebrews 6:10 says it plainly. God is not unjust. He will not forget your work, not overlook it, not minimize it, not postpone it indefinitely. He will not forget it. And chosen one, that word lands different when you've been waiting as long as you have. Now, here's what people misunderstand about how heaven moves. They expect trumpets. They expect a dramatic, visible shift they can point to and say, there. That's the moment everything changed. But heaven almost never announces itself that way. The response of heaven is often quiet before it becomes visible. Dawn doesn't arrive with an announcement. It touches the edge of the skyline hours before the whole city sees the sun. The ground receives rain long underground before a single blade of grass shows it on the surface. A courtroom decision is made in chambers before it's read aloud to the room. The verdict over your life may have already been declared. You just haven't heard the announcement yet. So how does heaven's response actually feel when it begins? Sometimes it feels like clarity arriving in a room that was full of fog. Sometimes it feels like a burden you've been dragging for 3 years, suddenly feeling 10 pounds lighter, and you don't even know why. Sometimes it's not a door flying open. It's the quiet arrival of the strength to finally close one. Sometimes heaven's response is not a new thing entering your life. It's a wrong thing losing its grip, the confusion ending, the second-guessing stopping, the clean, calm direction settling into your spirit like something coming home. And sometimes, and this is the one nobody talks about, sometimes heaven's response is the peace to stop chasing what was never yours to begin with. That is not a small thing. That is deliverance. But let me ask you the honest question underneath all of this. How do you know the shift is real and not just another emotional moment that fades by Thursday morning? Because you've been here before, haven't you? You've felt the surge, you've felt the hope rise, and then the week came in hard, and the feeling disappeared, and you were left wondering if you manufactured the whole thing. Here is the answer, and I need you to hear this slowly. The response was delayed until you became able to recognize it without sabotaging it. Read that again in your spirit. God was not withholding from you out of distance. He was protecting the blessing from arriving before you could carry it without destroying it. Because some of us, in our desperation, would have grabbed the first version of the answer and forced it into a shape that fit our pain instead of our purpose. The delay was not punishment. It was preparation so precise it had your name on it. Isaiah 40:31. Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength, not recover their strength, not borrow someone else's strength. Renew it, like new, like it was never touched by what tried to drain it. That renewal does not happen during the comfortable seasons. It happens in the long, unglamorous, invisible waiting, the kind you have been living, the kind most people around you never fully understood. And now, the waiting is shifting into something else. Not because you finally figured out the right formula, not because you said the perfect prayer or reached some spiritual milestone, but because endurance, surrender, and divine timing have just collided in your life. And when those three things meet, heaven moves. Not eventually. Now, chosen one, I need you to make a decision in this moment. Not a loud one, not a performance. A quiet, settled, internal decision that says, I receive whatever form God's response takes. I will not demand the dramatic. I will not reject the quiet. I will not miss the subtle. I am ready. If that is your answer, type it right now. 2 words. I am ready. Because what comes next in your life requires that posture. Open hands, clear eyes, a spirit that has stopped fighting for control and started trusting the one who never lost it. The shift is real. The response is already in motion. And the clearest sign that it's genuine is what you must not return to. Now I need to say something that most people won't tell you, because what I'm about to say is not comfortable, but it is necessary. And if you've stayed with me this far, I believe your spirit is ready to hear it. You have been praying for a new season, but here's the question heaven is asking you right now. Are you still emotionally living in the old one? Because that is the hidden trap. That is the thing that stops chosen people. Not lack of faith, not lack of prayer, not lack of desire. It's the invisible cord, still tied to what God already led you out of. Hear me clearly. You cannot walk into your new season while your heart is still checking the rearview mirror. The children of Israel stood at the edge of something they had never seen before. God had opened a sea for them, parted water with his bare hand, moved heaven and earth to get them out of Egypt. And what did they do in the wilderness? They wanted to go back. At least in Egypt we had food. At least we knew what to expect. Numbers 11-5. They sat there, mourning onions and garlic. The very place that had enslaved them felt safer than the freedom they didn't understand yet. And I need you to sit with that for a moment. Because that is not an ancient story. That is your story. That is what happens when a soul has been in survival mode so long that suffering starts to feel like home. So let me name it directly. Let me call out what you must not return to. Stop chasing what God already dried up. If he closed that door, stop that relationship, ended that season, stop knocking, stop calling, stop circling back. A door God closes is not a mistake. It is a mercy. Stop reopening old connections out of loneliness. Loneliness is real. I am not dismissing it. But some of the people you are tempted to call right now, they did not leave your life by accident. God removed them to protect what he's building in you. Going back to that familiarity is like scratching open a wound that was finally starting to heal. Stop explaining your growth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You do not owe anyone a justification for becoming who God called you to be. Some people knew you in your pain, and they are most comfortable with that version of you. The moment you start rising, they go quiet, or they push back. That is not your problem to solve. That is your sign to keep moving. Stop shrinking to make other people comfortable. Chosen one, listen to me. Playing small is not humility. Playing small when God has called you forward is disobedience dressed up as modesty. You were not saved, sustained, and summoned through decades of hard living just to make yourself invisible so someone else could feel better. Stop talking like your future is already over. Every time you say, "Nothing ever changes for me," you are not being realistic. You are writing a prophecy of defeat with your own mouth. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Life and death are in the power of the tongue." You are not just venting, you are building walls around your own breakthrough. And stop agreeing with weariness as if it is your identity. Tired is a condition. Tired is not who you are. There is a difference between needing rest and deciding you are finished. Heaven has not finished with you. The fact that you are still here, still watching, still reaching, that itself is evidence that the assignment is not over. Some of you don't need to do more. You need to stop re-entering what heaven already led you out of. You are carrying a key to a house that no longer belongs to you. And every time life gets uncertain, every time the wilderness feels too quiet, too unfamiliar, too slow, You reach back into your pocket and you find that old key. And you think about going back. Don't. That house is empty now. God cleared it out for a reason. The life that waits for you cannot be found behind you. It has never been behind you. The prison gate is open. It has been open. But some of you keep walking back inside because the cell at least felt familiar. At least you knew the dimensions of it. At least you knew what kind of suffering to expect. But chosen one, an open gate, means you are free to leave. It does not mean you are required to stay. The next season of your life will not be protected by desire alone. It will be protected by your refusal to return. That is the decision heaven is waiting on right now. Not a louder prayer, not a longer fast. A decision, a firm, settled, unshakable decision that says, I am not going back there. If you are done returning to what broke your peace, what drained your spirit, what kept you small, type it right now, I'm not returning. Let heaven witness that declaration. Let your own eyes see it written. Because once you stop returning, once you finally close that door from the inside, you can receive what this entire message has been building toward. And what's coming next is the part most people never reach. Let me tell you what I believe is happening in your life right now, not what I hope, not what sounds good. What I believe with everything in me is spiritually, actually, opening for you in this season. Because you didn't carry all of that weight for nothing. You didn't endure all of those years, the quiet ones, the hard ones, the ones where you smiled through pain that nobody fully understood, just to arrive at the end of your story with nothing left but regret and a rocking chair. That is not your ending. That is not even close to your ending. Here's what the world gets wrong about people like you. The world looks at age and sees a closing door, but God looks at age and sees ripened fruit. And fruit that ripens slowly, fruit that survives every storm, every frost, every dry season. That fruit is always the sweetest. Always. You are not past your season. You are entering it. Think about Moses. He didn't lead a nation at 30. He led a nation at 80. 80 years old, standing at the edge of a desert. And God said, now is your moment. Think about Caleb at 85. While younger men were settling, Caleb looked at a mountain and said, give me this mountain. Not because he was reckless, because he had been refined long enough to know what he was truly capable of. Think about Anna, a widow, decades of faithful waiting, living in the temple, praying through her pain. And then one morning, one ordinary morning, she held the Messiah in her arms. Every single year of waiting had been preparation for that moment of recognition. And Sarah, past the age of expectation, past what biology said was possible, past what logic allowed. And God said, watch this. Are you hearing this? Are you really hearing this? You are not too late. You are precisely on time for a season that required everything you've already been through to make you ready for it. So let me tell you what I believe is opening right now. A calmer mind. Not because your circumstances suddenly got easier, but because something is shifting at a deeper level, the kind of peace that doesn't depend on everything going right. The peace Philippians 4-7 describes as something that surpasses understanding. A peace that guards you. A peace that stands over you like a fortress. A stronger heart. One that has finally stopped apologizing for how much it has endured and started recognizing endurance as authority. Meaningful connection. The right people. The ones God hand-selected for this chapter. Not the ones who drain you, but the ones who see you, clearly, fully, without needing you to perform. Restored confidence. Because somewhere along the way, you started believing the lie that your best contribution was behind you. It wasn't. It isn't. God is not finished using your voice, your wisdom, your presence. A new assignment, not the assignment of your youth, something deeper. Something only a soul seasoned by decades of real life could carry without cracking under the weight of it. And yes, financial relief. not as an afterthought, as provision aligned with purpose, because God has never been indifferent to your practical needs. Deuteronomy 8:18 is still true. He gives you power to create wealth. That promise did not expire. But here is the one that may hit you the hardest: the return of joy. Real joy. Not the performance of it, not the version you put on for everyone else, but the deep, quiet, unshakable joy that comes when a soul finally stops fighting against its own story and starts trusting the author of it. Psalm 126:5 says, "Those who sow in tears will reap with songs of joy." You have been sowing in tears for a long time. The harvest is not coming someday. The harvest is now. But I need to ask you something, and I need you to sit with it honestly. Have you been mourning a version of your life that you think you missed? Have you been quietly grieving time you believed was wasted, years that felt stolen, seasons that never delivered what you prayed for? Because here is the hard and holy truth. None of it was wasted. Not one year, not one tear, not one unanswered prayer. God was storing it, like oil in hidden jars, pressed and preserved for a specific hour. And that hour is not behind you. You were never behind. You were being prepared for a season that needed a steadier soul than your younger years could have ever provided. The gold that shines without cracking is always the gold that stayed in the fire longest. That is you. If you believe, even if it's just a flicker, even if doubt is still sitting right next to you, that God still has meaningful fruit ahead of you, type right now, "It's not too late." Let heaven and every person watching this know that you are not finished, because you're not. And now that you know what is opening, there is one final response this message is asking of you. You made it here. And that alone means something, because most people would have clicked away. Most people would have told themselves they were too busy, too tired, too far gone for a message like this to matter anymore. But you stayed, and I need you to understand that was not willpower. That was obedience. Something in your spirit recognized what your mind hadn't caught up to yet. So before we close this sacred hour, I need you to hear me clearly. Stop speaking about yourself like the story is over. Stop introducing yourself to the future with words that belong to the past. Stop saying I've been through too much. Stop saying it's probably too late for me. Stop letting the length of the wait become the verdict on the outcome. Because here is what the Word of God declares in Isaiah 46:10, "I make known the end from the beginning." That means God authored your conclusion before you lived your first chapter. The delay did not rewrite the ending. It was written into it. The heaviness you've been carrying, that was not collapse. That was weight-bearing training. The pressure that has been building in your life, that was not proof of abandonment. That was capacity being formed. Because you cannot pour into what has not been enlarged, and God has been enlarging you in the dark. Think about what you have survived. Not just the big moments, the ordinary mornings that cost everything, the holidays that hurt, the phone calls that changed your life in 30 seconds, the silence from people who should have stayed. You carried all of it. You kept going. You didn't quit. And heaven watched every single step. Psalm 56:8 says God collects every tear in a bottle. He keeps a record of every sorrow. That means nothing you endured was invisible. Nothing was wasted. The pain was being catalogued, not ignored. And when God catalogues suffering, He doesn't file it away. He redeems it. He converts it. He turns the record of your losses into the blueprint of your restoration. But here is where I need to press on something real. The enemy of your soul does not fight hard over empty territory. He does not waste warfare on people whose stories are finished. The intensity of what you've been through is not evidence that God forgot you. It is evidence that the enemy feared what you were becoming. You don't send that kind of pressure against someone who isn't a threat. The warfare exposed your proximity to the breakthrough, and now you are standing at the threshold. One hand on the door, the hallway behind you, dark and long. The room ahead, sealed but not locked. Not anymore. Because this moment, this hour, this message that found you on an ordinary day when you almost didn't stop, this is the hinge point. This is where the sealed room finally opens to light. This is where the mantle that has been trembling over you finally settles onto your shoulders with full weight and full authority. But you have to receive it with open hands, not clenched fists, not crossed arms, not the guarded posture of someone who has hoped before and been hurt before. I understand that posture. I know what long disappointment does to a heart. It teaches you to protect yourself from wanting too much. But God is not asking you to be naive. He is asking you to be obedient. There is a difference. Faith is not pretending the hurt didn't happen. Faith is choosing to believe the author is still writing despite the chapter you're in. So receive this hour. May what was foggy become clear. May what was heavy become holy. May what was delayed arrive in right order. May what tried to break you become the evidence, undeniable, visible, permanent evidence that you were being built. Chosen one, you thought the pressure meant you were being undone, but heaven was using it to reveal that you could carry what your next season requires. Read that again. Let it go all the way down. You were not being destroyed. You were being qualified. And now, right now, you were meant to find this message, because now is the moment you stop interpreting survival as your final chapter. Survival was never the destination. It was the proof of passage. It was heaven saying, this one endures. This one is ready. This one can carry the weight of what comes next. The spine of your soul is standing upright right now under heaven's hand. Don't walk away from this moment the same way you came in. If this message spoke directly to where you really are, type right now, I receive what God is doing. Let those words leave your hands and enter the atmosphere. Because declaration matters. Because your voice has authority over your own timeline. And if someone came to your mind while you were watching this, someone carrying a weight they couldn't explain, send this to them. Right now, before the moment passes. Your obedience might be the interruption they've been waiting for. Subscribe if you want messages that speak to your spirit with truth, depth, and peace. And carry this with you when you leave. Once heaven saw you could carry it, the response was no longer delayed.